The crisp autumn air bit at my cheeks as I steered my old pickup truck down the winding dirt road toward my cabin. It was my sanctuary, tucked away in the dense forests of rural Vermont, far from the chaos of city life. I'd inherited the place from my grandfather, a rugged old soul who'd built it with his bare hands back in the 50s. No neighbors for miles, or so I thought until the HOA showed up that IT started innocently enough. A few years back, a developer had carved out a fancy gated community on the adjacent land, calling it Whispering Pines Estates. They marketed it to retirees and young professionals seeking rustic luxury, complete with manicured lawns, community pools, and strict bylaws enforced by a power-hungry homeowners association. I didn't mind at first. Their entrance was on the main highway, and my cabin sat on a separate parcel, accessed via a private easement that snaked through the woods. But boundaries blur when entitlement creeps in. The HOA president, a slick lawyer named Harold Benson, decided my gate, a simple chain link affair with a padlock, was an eyesore that detracted from their pristine image. They'd sent letters, then fines, claiming it violated some vague covenant about community aesthetics. I ignored them. My land, my rules. That morning as I approached, something was off. My gate was sealed shut with bright yellow caution tape and a heavy-duty lock that wasn't mine. A notice from the HOA fluttered in the breeze. Violation of Section 4.2. Unauthorized structures. Access restricted until compliance. My blood boiled. They'd trespassed, tampered with my property, all because my humble gate didn't match their McMansion vibe. I parked and hopped the fence, my boot crunching on fallen leaves. Inside the cabin, I brewed coffee and plotted. Little did they know, their only road out, the one they used daily to access the highway, ran straight through a forgotten strip of my grandfather's land. It was an old logging path he'd deeded to the family, never officially transferred when the development went up. A quick call to the county clerk confirmed it. I owned that crucial 200-yard stretch. A grin spread across my face. Revenge wouldn't be swift. It would be deliberate. Like the slow turn of seasons in these woods, I spent the afternoon digging through dusty boxes in the cabin's attic, unearthing yellow deeds and surveys from the 1940s. Grandpa had been a shrewd man, buying up parcels during the post-war boom when land was cheap. The easement for Whispering Pines Back Road was buried in fine print, a clause allowing temporary passage that I'd never enforced. Until now. By evening, I drafted a letter to Benson and the HOA board, citing the deeds and demanding they cease using my property immediately. I attached copies of the surveys, highlighting the red line boundary that sliced through their precious exit. Failure to comply, I wrote, will result in immediate closure of the access point. I mailed it certified, then sat by the fire, nursing a whiskey, imagining their faces. The next day, I drove into town for supplies. Heavy chains, no trespassing signs, and a couple of trail cameras to document any shenanigans. On the way back, I swung by the county courthouse to file a formal notice of intent to revoke the easement. The clerk, an old friend named Martha, raised an eyebrow. "You're stirring up a hornet's nest, Jake. Those HOA folks think they own the whole mountain." "Let 'em buzz," I replied. Back at the cabin, I installed the cameras overlooking the disputed road. It was a narrow gravel path, flanked by towering pines, that connected Whispering Pines to the state route. Without it, their residents would have to loop around a 15-mile detour through muddy back roads, impassable in winter. That night, as stars pierced the inky sky, I heard the first rumble of trouble. A convoy of SUVs from the community zoomed past on my land, oblivious. I smiled into the darkness. The response came faster than expected. 2 days later, Benson himself pulled up in a gleaming BMW, honking impatiently at my sealed gate. I watched from the porch. Shotgun leaned casually against the rail. Not loaded, but a statement nonetheless. "Mr. Harlan," he shouted, stepping out in his pressed khakis and polo shirt. "This is absurd. Remove this barrier at once." "Isantared over," Keist jingling. "Afternoon, Harold. Fancy seeing you here. What's the rush?" He thrust a copy of my letter at me. "This is blackmail. That road's been public for years. You can't just claim it now." "Public? Check the deeds." "It's mine. and your little stunt with my gate voided any goodwill. Pay up for an official easement, say $50,000, or find another way out. His face turned beet red. We'll sue. This is extortion. Sue away, I said calmly. But until then, that road's closed starting midnight. He stormed off, tires spinning gravel. I chuckled, but deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. The closure began at dawn. I dragged a fallen log across the path. Nothing permanent, but enough to block traffic. Then I posted signs, private property, no trespassing. Violators will be prosecuted. The cameras rolled, .by noon. The complaints flooded in. First, a minivan full of soccer moms honked and yelled, forced to reverse. Then a delivery truck got stuck, trying to maneuver around. Social media lit up. Whispering Pines had a private Facebook group, and screenshots leaked to me via a sympathetic resident, an elderly widow named Mrs. Ellis who'd baked me pies in the past. HOA screwed us again, one post read. Back road blocked by that hermit up the hill. Now it's an hour to the grocery store. Benson called an emergency meeting that evening. I wasn't invited, of course, but Mrs. Ellis texted me updates. They're panicking, she wrote, talking about pooling funds for a lawsuit. Good, let them sweat. Over the next week, tensions escalated. Residents started sneaking through at night, thinking I wouldn't notice. But the cameras caught them, license plates, faces, even a few joyriding teens. I compiled the footage and sent it to the sheriff, filing trespassing reports. Deputy Ramirez, another old-timer, showed up with a wry grin. Jake, you're making enemies. Enemies made themselves. I said he issued warnings, but no arrests. Yet, meanwhile, I fortified my position. Hired a surveyor to stake the boundaries with bright orange flags, making it impossible to ignore. The HOA retaliated by petitioning the county to declare the road eminent domain. But Martha tipped me off. No chance. It's private, and they've got alternatives. Their alternatives were a nightmare. The detour wound through swampy lowlands, prone to flooding. After a rainstorm, several cars got mired in mud, requiring tow trucks. Complaints turned to outrage. One resident, a burly contractor named Tom, approached me peacefully. Look, man, most of us aren't like Benson. We just want to get to work. Can't we work something out? I considered it. Tell your HOA to apologize for the gate and pay for repairs. Then maybe. He nodded, but Benson shot it down to as winter loomed. The real fun began. First, snow flurries dusted the ground, and the detour became a slippery mess. A fender bender involving two residents sparked a shouting match, captured on dashcam and shared online. Whispering Pines' reputation tanked. Potential buyers backed out after reading reviews about inaccessible hellhole. I kept my routine, chopping wood, fishing in the stream, watching the chaos from afar. But isolation has its edges. Nights grew longer, and doubts crept in. Was I becoming the villain Grandpa warned against? Land's a gift, Jake, he'd say. Don't let it poison you. Still, justice felt sweet. The breaking point came mid-November. A nor'easter dumped 2 feet of snow overnight. The main highway plowed clear, but the detour? Buried. Residents were trapped. Groceries low. Kids missing school. Emergencies looming. Benson called, voice strained. Harlan, this has gone far enough. People are suffering. You're doing, I reminded him. Unlock my gate. Pay the fine you imposed on me. Ironic, huh? And we'll talk easement. Silence, then fine. But this isn't over. It was, though. They complied by morning, a crew removing their lock under my watchful eye. I cleared the log, but left the signs up as a reminder. Peace returned, fragile but real. Mrs. Ellis dropped off a pie, whispering, "You're a hero to some of us." As I sat by the fire that night, deed in hand, I pondered the outro to this saga. Land binds us, divides us, but in the end, it's about respect. They'd learned that the hard way. Yet, whispers of a lawsuit lingered. I braced for round 2. The thaw came slow that spring, melting snow into rivulets that carved fresh paths through the forest. My cabin stood resilient, gate now reinforced with a sturdier lock of my own design. The HOA had backed down temporarily, but Benson's ego was a festering wound. began with subterfuge. Anonymous tips to the county about environmental violations on my land, claims of illegal logging that turn out bogus. Inspectors came, poked around, found nothing. I counter by reporting their community's overflowing septic systems, which leached into the shared creek. Fines followed, hitting their coffers hard. Residents divided. Some sided with me, forming a splinter group to oust Benson. Others rallied behind him, viewing me as the antagonist in their suburban drama. Tom, the contractor, became an unlikely ally. He slipped me intel during a chance meeting at the hardware store. Benson's hiring a hotshot attorney for Boston. They're claiming adverse possession on that road. Say they've used it long enough to own it. Adverse possession? The nerve. In Vermont, it required 15 years of open, hostile use. They'd only been there 5. Still, lawsuits drag on, draining resources. I lawyered up too, dipping into savings for a grizzled local named Elias Crow, who'd tangled with HOAs before. This is winnable, he said over coffee. But it'll get ugly. Ugly it got. Discovery phase, unearthed emails from Benson plotting to neutralize the nuisance neighbor. One gem. Seal his gate. That'll teach him. My blood boiled anew. Court dates loomed, but life intervened. A resident's elderly mother suffered a stroke. Ambulance delayed by the detour. She survived, but the incident galvanized opposition. Petitions circulated demanding Benson's resignation that I testified in preliminary hearings. Deeds spread on the table. This isn't about money, I said. It's about boundaries. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Hargrove, eyed Benson sternly. Mr. Harlan's claim holds. No adverse possession here. Victory? Partial. They appealed, stalling. Meanwhile, nature conspired. A summer storm felled trees across the detour, stranding folks again. I offered temporary access for a fee. Some paid, others grumbled. Personal toll mounted. Sleepless nights, paranoia about sabotage. One dawn, I found my truck tires slashed. Cameras caught a hooded figure, traced to Benson's nephew. Charges filed, scandal erupted. The splinter group gained traction. At the annual HOA meeting, votes swung. Benson out, Tom in as interim president. Tom approached with an olive branch. Let's settle. $20,000 fort permanent easement, plus apologie. I molded. Greed tempted, but principle won. Make it $10,000 to charity, fix the creek pollution, and we're square. Deal struck. AS leaves turned gold again, closure settled. The road stayed open, my gate intact. Benson slunk away, community healed. In the quiet of my cabin, I reflected. Power unchecked breeds tyrants, but one voice can reclaim the wild. The forest whispered agreement, and I slept sound.